to Vasquez.
Freshman Queen who's driving, floats it.
And here comes the message on the floor.
With 2 seconds. Here it goes for the win.
What is up, Terps fans? Welcome into another Fear the Podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. I'm going to go down and break down, whatever term we want to use there, for Maryland's matchup against Old Dominion on Sunday. The game is at 6 p.m. Eastern Time at Xfinity Center. This is the Terps' last bye game. This is the last get-right game of the season here. So we're going to get into all of it. And realistically, if you're looking at like KenPom metrics, this might be the last time Maryland is the favorite in a game this season, which is kind of crazy to think about. I'm sure that won't end up being the ultimate case here, but at least the way it stands right now, this is one of the few times where it's they're like an actual favorite and it's not just like a pick 'em. So let's talk about Old Dominion. Who are they? What do we need to know? All the major happenings with this team. They're 4-9 on the season. A couple of those wins are against non-Division I as well. It's not an incredible winning percentage, so let's break the whole thing down here. Let's see. Their first game of the season, they lost to Miami of Ohio by 15. Their first game at home was a 93-53 win over Randolph-Macon, who's a non-Division I team. They did beat Norfolk State, who is a perennial top contender in the MEAC, which is a pretty solid win, 60-57 in a low score there. They lost to GW 96-73. They lost to Xavier 99-69. They lost to Morgan State. Actually, they beat Morgan State badly, 88-56, excuse me. This is a Morgan State team that hung with Georgetown, had some decent results so far this year. So that's a pretty darn good result for them. They lost to Drexel 75-71. Drexel's not incredible, but that's a decent result to be competitive with them from a team like Old Dominion. Villanova beat this team 89-75. So I'll just say right now, because I am petty, as long as Maryland wins this game by more than Villanova did, I'll feel pretty good about the overall end result here for the Terps. So again, that was 89-75 Villanova over Old Dominion. This team lost to William and Mary by about the same margin there, 88-75. They lost to Richmond 86-77. Kind of a theme there in the middle. They played a pretty good defensive game against George Mason, who is a good defensive team. Mason still won 73-61. This team beat James Madison, who is perennially pretty solid in the Sun Belt. So that's actually a good result, 77-68. Followed it up with a loss to Coastal Carolina, 74-76. And that leads us to the game against the Terps. So kind of a mixed bag there. I mean, a couple decent results, but nothing special or should be worrying for the Terps. This is a game Maryland should win. They should expect to win comfortably, even without Pharrell Payne, which we'll get into a little bit more here as we go. But this needs to be a game that the Terps win very convincingly. And very convincingly to me is 20-ish points. Again, more than that, Villanova margin would make me happy. Anything more than that, 1 point more than that, I don't actually care that much. Not a particularly great shooting team is Old Dominion, 43% from the field, overall 33% from three. They do hold opponents to about the same, 43.7% from the field and 30% from three. So it's a team that's playing pretty decent perimeter defense right now. So that's something to watch for, although Maryland is not beating teams by lighting them up from three-point line anyway, so maybe it doesn't ultimately matter. This is a team that concedes a lot more free throws than it takes. They're averaging 15 free throws taken per game, giving up 18 a game, so this is a good sign for Maryland. This team will put you on the line. Maryland should have an athleticism advantage at a lot of these positions, should help them stack up some wins, although there's a little size on this Old Dominion team. We'll get into that a bit more too, but it's not a huge Maryland team if Pharrell Payne does not play, which seems the most likely outcome. Again, we'll circle back to that. Old Dominion, they turn the ball over about 12 times per game. They only force about 10 turnovers per game, so good for a Maryland team that's been a little sloppy so far this season. And from a rebounding perspective, Old Dominion is getting out-rebounded by about 2 rebounds per game, which isn't a huge deal either way for them, but you think about the competition that they played. not playing any particularly like juggernaut rebounding teams here, and they've been at a disadvantage for the season. So for this is an opportunity for Maryland, like you should convincingly beat this team like 45-35 on the boards, something like that. Or only reason you don't is because you shoot so well from the field that there just aren't that many things to go out in offensive rebound. So I don't know. This is a pretty favorable matchup for the Terps. They're not gonna like light you up from the 3-point line, which I think is something I worry about with this Maryland team. Not dominant in the paint, which is also pretty good for this Maryland team that hasn't been as good defending the rim as anybody would have hoped, especially again if Pharrell Payne doesn't play. They don't force a ton of turnovers. They turn the ball over a decent amount themselves. They don't assist on a lot of their baskets, and they're allowing a lot of their opponents' baskets to be assisted. So something for Maryland to continue to do. I think this team has shown some decent ball movement so far the last 2 weeks or so, and I think that helps them be a lot more competitive if they can actually move the ball around the perimeter, make defensive work a little longer in these possessions. If you don't have a ton of shooting threats, at least force them to have to work in the half-court defense. And if you're Maryland, again, I just would keep banging the drum of this is a team that should try to get out and run, especially without Pharrell Payne and when you're a little undersized. So if I were Maryland, I would be trying to attack a non-set defense as much as possible. Maryland should have the rebounding advantage even without Payne. And I think realistically should shoot better from the field, although Payne would certainly help that as the best shooter for this Maryland team in terms of overall field goal percentage. So the names to know, let's go through it for this Old Dominion team. This is kind of a couple familiar faces here for local high school basketball fans. We'll get into that a little bit here as well. Their big man. Let's just start there. Not the best player on the team or anything like that, but the name Terps fans are most likely to know. That's Caleb Swanton-Roger, who played for the Terps a handful of years ago under Kevin Willard. He's averaging 7.5 points and a little over 5 rebounds per game. Blocks a few shots, nothing crazy or special for them from that perspective. 17 block shots and 13 assists or 13 starts so far this year. So 1 block shot per game. So not a crazy rim protector for them, but a decent amount of size, and he'll likely be the biggest player on the court here that plays meaningful minutes. Keatron Shaw is the best scorer on this team. Only played in 9 of their 13 games so far this season, but is averaging 16 points per game. I don't know. He's an interesting player. I would say he's a 6'5" senior guard, but not really a shooter from the perimeter. Like he doesn't shoot threes. He's only taken 11 on the season. He's made 0 of them. So this is a guy that's going to do his damage inside the 3-point line, shooting about 44% from the field on pretty good margin. He gets to the free throw line a pretty decent amount here. A couple of other guys do that pretty well. Doesn't shoot a crazy percentage, 74.5%. Not bad. Their next best scorer is Jordan Battle. Battle, another guy that decent from the field. He is the 3-point threat of this group, shooting 43% on 58 attempts so far this season. Pretty good. Also leading the team in free throw attempts at 72 for the year. Shoots 87.5% from the line, averaging 14 points per game and 5.5 rebounds too. So Battle is a guy I think you really have to be able to shut down. He's probably the one I'd be more worried about stopping than Shaw personally. For Battle, 6'2" guard, kind of shifty, and averages 2.8 assists per game, So like he'll get a few other people involved, but mostly going to be looking for his own shot here. And I think just because of that ability to maybe get hot for stretches of this game, I would be particularly locked on him if I were the Terps. Another undersized guard for them is LJ Thomas. Is a guy that's scoring about 12 points per game. Another 4 rebounds. They rebound well from the guard position. 3.2 assists. So he's going to be the guy that probably creates a few more looks, or at least attempts to do that, than necessarily just hunting for his own shot. So something to keep an eye out for. All 3 of those guys, decent amount of turnovers, nothing crazy. A little over 1 per game for all of them, like 1.5 per game. And again, not like a crazy assist to turnover ratio, as you heard with the assist numbers there. So three solid guards that can all score and put up a few numbers, which is obviously not a great recipe for this Terps team that I don't think who's been incredible defensively from the perimeter. And I would say a lot of their challenges around the rim have been because the perimeter defense has let guys attack them. I think we saw in these 2 Power 5 matchups between Michigan and Virginia that Diggy Coit was something that other teams were trying to pick on. I actually think he holds up better than maybe he gets credit for, but that is clearly a game plan. It was noticeable against Virginia, where they were going at Coit just because of his size, and it forces people into tough switches at that point, especially if Maryland's going to switch almost everything. That allows a big to end up on the smallest player on the court in most situations, and he's going to be the smallest player that plays meaningful minutes in this game as well. So that's going to be challenging for Maryland to figure out what to do, even in this matchup where all the guards are a little bit bigger, but nothing crazy. He's handled better guys, and they're going to have an equally hard time containing him, if not more so. The next guy name to watch on this team is a guy I'm actually a big fan of in Robert Davis. It's a little confusing to me what's going on with him at Old Dominion. This is a guy I got to see a lot in prep school, coached by a good friend of mine who's one of the best prep school coaches in the country, and the same prep school staff that coached Diggy Coit as well. And their whole staff is incredible, so shout out to those guys if any of them are listening. But averaging 9 points per game this year, only 29.5% from the field and 30% from three. This is a dude I would qualify as like a sniper. Like, I've seen him just get hot and absolutely take over a game. He had a few like monster shooting performances last year. The percentage wasn't great, but he was basically the only perimeter shooting on last year's team, so they just wanted him to hoist it up from everywhere because teams guarded him like a top shooter. So he's making almost nothing from the field so far this year, that if it doesn't come from the three-point line, and he's not making a ton of those threes either. So only averaging 9 points per game, but it wouldn't shock me if Davis is a guy that gets hot. He's a decent-sized player, probably 6'5", I would say, something like that. Let's see what they listed him at. They listed him at 6'6", probably closer to 6'5", but that's how it goes in basketball. So anyway, Robert Davis is a guy I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of punches above his weight class and could get hot at any stretch here. Another name worth noting, Jared Turner, stretch forward for this game. Only started 2 of their 13 games, only averaging 6 points per game. Is a 41.5% three-point shooter. His dad, Steve Turner, is the coach at Gonzaga, or was before he left for Montverde. Turner's a dude that started at Northeastern, a former teammate of Colin Metcalf, I think, if that sounds right. Yeah, Metcalf's. They didn't really play much together, I don't think, but overlapped there as well. So, some familiarity, I guess, between the two guys, although Metcalf probably doesn't play a ton. All this is maybe a game where he could play a decent amount. He should at least be able to even out Swanton Roger, I would think. But Turner's a guy that from the power forward position for them, not crazy size, but a decent size, probably 6'7"-ish, can get hot from three. So he's someone you actually have to chase. So if you're Turkson or one of these guys or Saunders, you can't get lazy and leave him. The next name worth noting is a guy Maryland was actually recruiting pretty hard a handful of years ago, and that's Zach Wiggins, the little brother of Andrew Wiggins, is a freshman for this team, averaging about 6 points per game. Doesn't start, but a decent player with an interesting future. I think, not the same kind of athlete or size as Andrew. He's about 6'3.5" maybe as a freshman, still a little undersized, but he's got some potential there, so he'd be someone I'd be paying attention to in this game. And probably the last of the two more guys maybe to note here. Drew McKenna transfers in from Georgetown, didn't do a whole lot at Georgetown, but is another local guy. Went to Glen Elg Country School in Columbia. I got to shout this out. It's my wife's alma mater as well, so she'll be interested in following one of the Glen Elg Country Day School Dragons during this particular matchup. And Scotty Hubbard is a guy who's a sophomore for them. Started 9 of their 13 games despite only averaging 3.5 points per game so far. Another local kid. There is a healthy representation of DMV guys on this team. Jordan Battle, not a DMV guy, but he's from Chesapeake, Virginia, so the Tidewater area. So this is a homecoming for him to be down at Old Dominion. Swanton Roger obviously has some ties to this area. Jared Turner is from Maryland. Drew McKenna is from Maryland. Scotty Hubbard is from DC. Like, they have a decent amount of these dudes. Some of their bench warmers don't really play a ton. Also DMV guy. So Mike Jones, I buried the lead here. Former Maryland assistant Mike Jones is the head coach of this team. He's someone that Terps fans are obviously familiar with, and he's just trying to recruit the DMV area pretty well. So I think that's interesting for him. He's got a DMV focused staff, a lot of guys with ties to this area as well. So look, if you're the Terps, you're probably not going to have Pharrell Payne. Jeff Erman reported on InsideNBSports.com. Go check out IMS, the number one source for news here for the Terps. just sort of relayed some of the messages he's gotten from people around the program. Specifically, Chris Naki has been the one updating the world on Pharrell Payne's injury updates, it seems like recently, because the program won't do that. Mentions he saw Pharrell Payne walking around without a brace or boot or anything like that. Seemed to be moving fairly well. So looks like at least he avoided another devastating injury. So that's hopefully a good sign here for the Terps. I would not expect him to play in this game. I don't think there's a need to rush you back. This should be something that the combination of Turkson, Saunders, Metcalf, and maybe Alston, who seems back in the doghouse or on the bench for some reason, should be able to handle, though, just given the lack of real imposing interior size for this team. This is an Old Dominion team that's really hurt by the loss of a really good freshman point guard they had last year named Jaden Johnson. He moves on to LaSalle, and they just kind of never really replaced that guy of like elite. This guy was like going to be a top tier mid-major player at some point in his career, in my opinion. So just hard to keep guys like that in a program like this. So for the Terps, you just need your guards to be better than their guards and your big men to take advantage of the fact that they're just more Terps big men, I think, in this one that are going to play meaningful minutes. BRB 1914 says, happy birthday, Miles Rice. Yeah, shout out Miles Rice. Appreciate you mentioning that, because that totally slipped my mind, even though I just liked their post on Twitter here a little bit ago from the Terps. So it'd be nice to see a nice Miles Rice birthday breakout game here. I don't know. Like, we've seen some flashes from Rice. It gets to the point where you're like, oh, that was a really good half he strung together. That's the Miles Rice I think we all expected. Just hasn't been able to put it together from start to finish so far. So hopefully that's coming. Sort of great opportunity to do it right as you get ready for conference play here. So that would be a dude I would love to see just sort of break out and do his thing a bit more in this one. The Terps are 6-6 on the season. That's not great. They're 0-2 in the Big Ten. It's going to be a tough stretch getting wins here, again, if they are out without Pharrell Payne for some amount of time. Diggy Coit is your leading scorer that'll be available in this one at 14.8 points per game. Next is Darius Adams at 12.3. Adams is going to have a size advantage over most of the people that guard him in this game. He's obviously a little slight still, but he's going to be taller and longer, and I think he's going to be someone that should be able to take advantage of some of those matchups and get himself to the free throw line a good amount from a team that commits a decent amount of fouls, especially if he can find a way to maybe ISO on someone like Swanton Roger, get him in foul trouble. That'd be huge. I think one thing that Turkson does particularly well is just being a bowling ball of energy. Guys are going to pick up fouls because he is kind of spazzy, and that makes him a little hard to guard. And if you're one of the Turksons listening to this, I mean spazzy in the best possible sense here. It's just that shifty, herky-jerky kind of movement is hard to guard sometimes. So I think that should help the Terps out a little bit here. I would love to see a good Elijah Saunders shooting game. You got to at least have a better performance than Jared Turner. That's the matchup you're mostly going to have for this game, I would think, for a lot of it, because they're going to need the shooting from the front court, and Saunders just has to more than even that out. Miles Rice averaging about 9 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, give or take, and a little over 2 assists. Just need better from him, like we just talked about for a second ago. Like we need a good Miles Rice game. He should be the best or most talented guard, in all of his matchups. So I would love to see him just take over and say, like, none of these dudes can guard me. Even in some of these bye games, he's not been particularly assertive. So I would love to see that change. We know Coit's going to go after and get his, and they're going to probably need him to, again, at least cancel out some of the other guards like Battle or Shaw for Old Dominion. So we'll see how it goes. For them, Isaiah Watts was a little better, I would say, in parts of that Virginia game. So him being back and healthy maybe helps them out. Solomon Washington, I have not mentioned him yet for no obvious reason. I just kind of forgot about Solomon Washington, which is terrible because he's probably coming off his best game of the season at UVA. Had 9 and 12, shut down Tice DeRitter, one of the best players in the ACC. Averaging 7.5 points and 7.5 rebounds, probably about what we expected from a production standpoint. Washington is going to be a mismatch for this team. Like, he's just more physical, plays bigger than his size, is switchable all over the court. That's not really someone that Old Dominion has a counter to necessarily. So I expect him to chase around one of these guard matchups and try to shut them down for a team that is going to play a little smaller overall here. They will likely start 4 guards essentially in this one. Davis might be the second tallest player they start, or I guess Battle probably. And they're both or sorry, excuse me, Shaw. They're both about 6'4", 6'5", give or take. So you're going to start 2 6'2" guys, a 6'4" guy, 6'5" guy, and Swanton Roger is 6'10", 6'11", something like that. So I would love to see Washington just be an absolute madman on the glass here, get a couple putbacks. Like if he had a double-double in this one, that would make me incredibly happy to see him just go on a spree here from his general production standpoint. That's kind of it from a matchups perspective. I think Washington is a guy they're going to have a tough one matching up with. We need Coit to have a big game offensively, and I'd love to see Miles Rice step up. I haven't mentioned Andre Mills, probably the only other Terps guy that'll play a handful of minutes here that I didn't shout out at this point. Yeah, Mills will be the most athletic player on this court for the majority of this game, so him taking advantage, shot a little better in this last game, if I remember correctly, after a really cold stretch. I would love to see him not settle for threes, use your size, use your physicality, maybe even post Mills up. Like, who's going to guard him one-on-one in the post? Like, he's going to jump over everybody. He's got enough touch to finish around the rim, I think, at the very least. So if you can't have him slash outright against smaller, quick guys because he doesn't have this great handle, maybe you could just go up over guys. That would be something I would love to see the Terps try here. For Buzz Williams, from you guys, I just need to see some creativity here and some scheme in this one. Try some different things. Employ some different stuff that you think will actually suit you in Big Ten play, and see if you can tweak and continue to make adjustments in this one. That's really it. I don't want to go too long on the Old Dominion game. We'll be back for a recap after the fact here. Maybe we'll do some New Year's resolutions for every member of the Terps or something like that, just to keep it in the general holiday season spirit. I think all of you listening, shout out for you guys. You're the real ones for hanging around here for a disappointing 6-6 Terp season. Thank you guys for tuning in and the love on this one. I always appreciate when you guys hit the like button for us. Helps other Terps fans find the show, which is great and really appreciated. I hope we've all had a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holiday, whatever you celebrate. I hope it was the best. Hope you're around family. Hope you got some Terps merch and some gear to support this team. Maybe some tickets to some games. I will be at this one with my wife and some friends. So hit me up if you see me around at Xfinity Center. And hopefully we just have a good one to talk about after this game. We'll be back sometime because I'll be with family and friends. Probably will not do an immediate live recap of this one. It'll be sometime later that night when we get back home. So if you want to tune in for Free the Podcast after dark or something like that, we'll post on the site when you can expect to see the recap. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and let's hopefully go into 2026 with a win here for the Terps. Until next time, Fear the Podcast.